Okay, so you find yourself waking up every day between 3 and 5 a.m. And you're wondering, is this more than just bad sleep? You know, is there something else going on here? We got this really fascinating source sent in, and it suggests a spiritual explanation. So we're going to deep dive into that.
Okay.
Get ready. It's pretty wild.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, a lot of people experience that waking up in the early hours. The source frames those early morning awakenings almost like you've been chosen, like a spiritual watchman. It even draws a parallel to Ezekiel 33.6.
Wow.
Where watchmen are tasked with warning people of danger.
That's a spiritual alarm clock.
Yeah.
Right. Makes you think twice about hitting snooze.
Yeah.
This source goes on to say that this specific time window between 3 and 5 a.m. is when the enemy is most active. So it's super important for the chosen to be awake and praying. It even connects this time frame to those biblical stories about Jacob wrestling the angel and Jesus walking on water, claiming that those events also happened during those pre-dawn hours.
It's interesting how this source uses those stories to really emphasize how significant this time period is. And, it taps into that broader human fascination with attributing special meaning to certain times of day or night. A lot of cultures have those beliefs about witching hours or times when the veil between worlds is thin. This source is suggesting there's like a heightened spiritual sensitivity during those early hours.
Okay, so what do you do when you find yourself awake in those early hours? Well, this source says the first thing is try to remember your dreams. It suggests that God communicates through dreams, and that by remembering them, you can reveal what you should be praying about.
Whether or not you actually subscribe to that belief. There's definitely something to be said for the value of dream journaling. Dreams often reflect our subconscious thoughts and anxieties. So if you've been waking up with a sense of unease, jotting down those dream fragments might actually help you understand what's bubbling beneath the surface.
Oh. That's interesting. Okay, the second thing this source highlights is meditation, but not the typical clear your mind kind of meditation.
Right.
It talks about pondering.
Right.
Until you receive intuitive insights.
Yeah.
Or perceive things.
Right, and that goes back to that idea of heightened spiritual awareness during this time. It encourages a receptive state of mind, open to guidance or messages from a higher power. And it's fascinating how this aligns with the concept of cortisol, the stress hormone, which naturally peaks in the early morning for a lot of people. So perhaps this physiological phenomenon contributes to that sense of alertness and receptivity.
So our bodies are kind of primed for these experiences in more ways than one. Okay, the last action the source recommends is making declarations, literally speaking out loud your desires and goals for the day, almost like commanding your morning through the power of words.
That's an intriguing concept. It ties into the idea of manifestation, which has gotten pretty popular lately. The idea is that by putting your aspirations out into the universe, you're increasing their likelihood of becoming reality.
Okay, but is there a risk?
Yeah.
That this just becomes wishful thinking?
Yeah.
Rather than real action?
Yeah, that's a good point. Declarations aren't magic spells. They're more like a way to set intentions and focus your energy. But, there is a psychological benefit to this practice. By articulating your goals and visualizing them happening, you're priming your mind to look for opportunities and make choices that align with those aspirations.
So even if you just approach it from a practical standpoint, there's still value there in consciously shaping your day through spoken declarations.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how this source blends those spiritual and practical elements. It weaves together beliefs and actions in a way that might resonate with people from all sorts of backgrounds.
Yeah, interesting. This source even goes as far as to quote Ezekiel 33.6, again, emphasizing the responsibility of the watchman. And it suggests that if you don't heed this call of waking up early and taking action, there could be consequences, not just for you, but other people around you.
Wow. It definitely adds a sense of urgency, almost like a divine mission to the whole experience. And it raises some interesting questions about personal responsibility. And the ripple effects of our actions.
Yeah, it's a lot to ponder.
Yeah.
Especially at 4 a.m. But the source also clarifies that it's not just about praying blindly. It cautions against putting prayer above the voice of God, suggesting that people often pray in vain because they haven't taken the time to really understand what they should be praying for.
That makes sense. That's where the emphasis on dream interpretation
Yeah.
and intuitive insights comes in. It suggests you got to figure out what you believe is a message from a higher power before you start praying. Like you want to make sure you're aiming at the right target.
Yeah. Right. It uses the analogy of shooting in blanks, which I think paints a pretty vivid picture.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your actions with what you believe is a higher purpose. And the source believes that purpose is revealed through dreams, meditation, and that quiet space of the early morning.
You know, it's remarkable how this source is rooted in a specific religious context, but at the same time, it taps into those universal human desires
Yeah.
for meaning and purpose, especially when we encounter experiences that feel out of the ordinary.
Right. It's like it's offering a framework for understanding and navigating those experiences,
Yeah.
regardless of what you believe personally.
Exactly. And it reminds us that even in the stillness of those early hours, there's a potential for profound insight and connection.
So we delved into that spiritual framework that this source presents. But what about the practical side of things? Does it offer any advice on how to make the most of those early morning hours?
It does, and that's where it gets even more interesting. Instead of prescribing specific prayers or rituals, it focuses on cultivating a certain mindset and engaging in practices that foster introspection and self-discovery.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, first and foremost, it emphasizes remembering your dreams. It suggests keeping a dream journal right by your bed and writing down anything you can recall as soon as you wake up.
So it's not just remembering the dream, but actively trying to engage with it. It's trying to extract meaning and guidance.
It encourages you to look for patterns, symbols, recurring themes. It believes those hold clues to what you should be praying about, what areas of your life need attention, or what challenges you might be facing.
It's like a spiritual puzzle to solve. That could be both challenging and rewarding.
Yeah.
So what else does the source recommend?
The next practice it highlights is meditation. But as we mentioned earlier, it's not about emptying your mind in the traditional sense. The source uses the word ponder, which implies a more active process of reflection.
So what are you supposed to be pondering?
Well, it doesn't get into specifics. It encourages you to just sit quietly and let those thoughts and feelings and insights just surface organically. It suggests that during this time of heightened spiritual awareness, you're more likely to receive intuitive guidance. It calls it inward knowledge.
That sounds kind of like what people describe as gut feelings.
Yeah.
Or those, aha moments, those flashes of insight. That seem to come out to nowhere.
Exactly. And then this source suggests that those insights are often more valuable than any external advice or guidance that you might get. It really encourages you to trust your intuition and act on those inner promptings.
That's a powerful message, especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information and opinions. It's easy to lose touch with our own inner wisdom.
Absolutely. And that's why it places so much emphasis on creating this quiet space in the early morning, time to disconnect from all the external noise and really tune into your own inner voice.
So we've got dream journaling, meditation. What's the third practice that the source recommends?
The third practice is all about speaking your truth into existence. The source calls it making declarations.
Declarations, like standing in front of the mirror and saying, I am powerful, I am successful, I am awake at 4 a.m.
Well, it doesn't have to be quite that dramatic. But the core idea is similar. The source wants you to speak out loud. Your desires, your goals, your intentions for the day. It believes that by vocalizing those things, you're essentially releasing them into the universe and increasing their likelihood of manifesting.
So it's like a spiritual pep talk.
Yeah.
A way to set the tone for your day.
Yeah.
And align your energy with your desired outcomes.
Exactly. And even if you're not a spiritual person, there's still a psychological benefit to this practice by saying your goals out loud.
Yeah.
And visualizing them happening. You're essentially priming your mind to focus on those things throughout the day. It's like sending a clear signal to your subconscious mind, guiding its focus and energy.
Interesting. So it's not just positive thinking. It's actually taking those concrete steps to align your thoughts and actions.
Precisely. And this source believes this is especially potent during those early morning hours when that veil between the spiritual and physical realms is supposedly at its thinnest.
So by combining those dream insights, the intuitive guidance from meditation, and those powerful declarations, you're essentially creating a blueprint for a divinely inspired day.
That's a great way to put it. And even if you don't buy into the whole spiritual framework, there's still a lot of wisdom to be gleaned from these practices. They encourage self-awareness, introspection, intentionality, all qualities that can contribute to, a more fulfilling and purposeful life.
This source it's really packed with information. It's like a spiritual self-help guide, disguised as an explanation for early morning awakenings.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that even seemingly mundane experiences can hold a deeper meaning if we're open to exploring them. Now, this might resonate with some of you more than others, but let's dive into some of those core ideas here a little further.
Yes. And it's important to acknowledge that not everyone's gonna connect with those spiritual interpretations.
Yeah.
But the practices themselves
Yeah.
offer valuable tools for self-discovery and personal growth, regardless of your beliefs.
Absolutely. For example, dream journaling isn't just about deciphering divine messages. It can also be a powerful tool for understanding your own subconscious patterns and emotions. Think of it like a treasure hunt for your subconscious.
I like that. It makes it feel less intimidating and more like an adventure.
Right. And meditation, it isn't just about connecting with a higher power. It's also about cultivating a sense of inner peace and clarity,
Okay.
which can benefit anyone, no matter what they believe spiritually.
And those declarations, it's not about, commanding the universe. It's more about consciously setting intentions, aligning your actions with your goals. It's about taking ownership of your day and shaping it in a way that reflects your aspiration.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that even if you strip away the whole spiritual framework, the source's suggestions align with a lot of secular self-help and productivity strategies.
It's like they took these ancient spiritual practices and reframed them for a modern audience, making them accessible and relevant to people from all walks of life.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this source so compelling. It bridges that gap between spirituality and practicality, offering a unique perspective on how to make the most of those early hours.
Yeah, this whole deep dive has given me a whole new perspective on my own early morning routine.
I'm curious, what stood out to you the most?
What really struck me was the emphasis on intentionality. It's not just about waking up early. It's about using that time intentionally to connect with yourself, set your goals, and align your actions with your purpose.
That's a great takeaway. It's a reminder that we have the power to shape our days, even in those quiet moments before the world wakes up.
And even if you're not sold on those spiritual explanations for early waking, you can't deny the potential benefits of those quiet hours for reflection and introspection.
Absolutely. It's a time when our minds are less cluttered, more receptive to new ideas, and maybe even more connected to our intuition.
So maybe those early mornings aren't such a bad thing after all. Maybe they're an opportunity to tap into a different level of awareness and unlock our potential.
Yeah. Maybe the early riser doesn't just catch the worm. Maybe they catch a glimpse of their own inner wisdom and a clearer vision for their day.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? Well, whether you fully embrace the spiritual side of this or not, this deep dive really makes you think differently about those early morning hours. Instead of seeing it as, oh, I'm waking up too early, maybe it's an invitation to something more.
It really is all about perspective, isn't it? The source wants us to see early waking as like a gift, a time for introspection and connection, maybe even a little bit of divine inspiration.
It really encourages you to see it as this time of unique creative potential when your mind is free from all the day's distractions and just open to new possibilities.
They're like those quiet hours before dawn. Have a special kind of magic to them, a chance to connect with something larger than yourself.
So next time you wake up at 4 a.m., and instead of hitting that snooze button, maybe you grab that dream journal, try a little meditation, or even just whisper a few powerful declarations.
Who knows what you might discover? It could be a new insight, a burst of creativity, or maybe just a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you.
Well, this deep dive has given us a lot to think about. Maybe those early mornings aren't so bad after all. Maybe they're an opportunity just waiting for us to embrace it.
Absolutely. So keep that dream journal handy, try a little morning meditation, or maybe just take a moment to really appreciate the quiet beauty of those pre-dawn hours. We'd love to hear what you discover on your own early morning adventures.
Let us know what you find out.
Yeah.
What insights or aha moments come to you in those magical hours before the world wakes up. You might just find that the early bird gets more than just the worm.